Welcome back, everyone, to Open Line. Glad you're with us. We have with us tonight Patrick Green. He's president of the Amalgamated Transit Union. That is all of the transit drivers here in Metro and dealing with the coronavirus. He said some 40 workers have gotten sick in this time, and he's concerned about where they turn once they are sick. What is available to sick workers? And he's very concerned about that. Again, Patrick Green is with us. And so I want to, as we've kind of set the table for this discussion, talk about some individual cases. What are some of the cases that stand out to you? You don't have to name names, obviously, but paint a picture for us of what some individuals are facing.
Correct. So currently right now I have a senior bus operator who's been driving for the transit system for over 20 years. She contracted the COVID virus, and she has yet been able to return to work. She was hospitalized. She was on a respirator ventilator. She was told by the medical staff that she was near death. This is someone who we all know and love at this agency, and all the passengers love her. And I speak to her on a regular basis, and her message is always, please tell everybody to wear a mask. She believes she contracted the virus because she picked up a passenger that she hadn't seen in a long time who was leaving an elderly care facility who hugged her. She told me that every day, in spite of what the company would do in terms of cleaning, she wiped down her fare box where everyone puts their money and the rails at every point along the way when she got to a break. She even sprayed throughout the bus. So that is the only personal contact that she has had. And she has now effectively been out for almost 3 months. And this operator is terrified to death to come back to work and is considering a retirement. I do know that we have 2 other operators who are so afraid, and God bless them, they had the necessary time in order to retire, but this has forced them to take retirement. I speak to one of my very, very close friends here, was in tears because he came into contact with an employee who was positive, and he hadn't seen his grandchildren in quite some time. And he could not go see his grandchildren because he was afraid that he may pass the virus to them. It affects the lives of all of our employees. We have mothers and fathers and children and extended family. I myself, we like to visit the sick. We love to visit the shut-in. These are things that I can no longer do, not because of my behavior. It is because of the behavior of the people that we come into contact with every single day. It's difficult to wear a mask all day long. It is, right? It's difficult to do those things. But if you don't care about your safety, that's okay. Care about somebody else's. But we're experiencing these things every single day. I have an operator now who just recovered. Thank goodness, but he's still in the hospital. He's still in the hospital. So these are the types of situations that we're facing. And to highlight the one operator that I spoke to twice today, that is still 2 weeks later telling me that she was the reason that her husband is no longer here because she came to work and contracted the COVID-19 virus and took it home, and he died 3 weeks later.
Wow. Well, that's terrible. And that is what they're facing. That's what they're facing.
Every day.
The first woman that you spoke about who was very, very sick and believes she got it from driving someone that she knew and hugged that person. How is she paying the bills? Like what are her options, and what are options for people that are out for long periods of time because they have COVID?
Unfortunately, right now, she doesn't have any options. She's out of sick time. She is getting by. One of the things that we do, we try to teach here financial responsibility. And one of the things she said to me was, she said, Brother Green, I appreciate so much the lessons that you had taught to us 2 years ago, because I was ready financially when this happened. So I'm not going to lose my house. I do need to make a decision very soon as to what I'm going to do, but I don't want to come back to work. So I think I'm going to have to retire.
Wow. And so are you going to lose a lot of workers? I mean, they are. Do you think a large number of workers are just going to retire and not come back?
I believe that is the case. That will happen. And unfortunately, these are our senior drivers, our veteran drivers, who know this city, who love this city. Most of them born and raised in this city, and they love what you can't be a bus operator in a city with all that you see, with all the violence that takes place, with all the health risks. You can't do it for 20 years if you don't love it. So those are the people that I would love to see do this for 30, 40 years, right? Because they are truly an ambassador to the city, and they're an ambassador for the workforce that I get to serve every day.
And so you represent, again, transit workers. How does this translate to other essential workers, in your opinion? And I'm sure you deal with people that represent other workers. How does this play out in the bigger picture, even?
So the stories are generally the same, right? And I don't want to take anything away from the police and the fire and all the different organizations that are out there. But you tell me, does a policeman, unless he's at a protest or a rally, come into contact with 100 to 1,000 people in an 8-hour period? Does that genuinely happen? I am sympathetic to everyone's cause. As I speak to our counterparts in Memphis, in Knoxville, in Chattanooga, in Jackson, Tennessee, we all face the same issues. We all have employees that are subjected to this and are testing positive, and we each have different policies and nuances. I happen to believe, for as difficult as it is here in Nashville, we've got it much better than they have it in Memphis. We've got it much better than they have it in Knoxville. We've got it much better than they have it in Chattanooga. But
why do you say that? Why do you think it's better than those cities here?
Well, we're a very aggressive workforce here, and so we don't believe in talking about the problem and talking about the problem alone. We believe in providing solutions to the problem. It wasn't WeGo's idea to go to a reduced schedule back in May. That was our proposal. These were proposals that I was submitting to this agency beginning back on March the 5th. But it took the month of May in order for them to finally react to it. And we've got great management, great personnel, but they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. But it was, in fact, our responsibility to say, listen, we must go to a rear door policy. We have to. We have to provide these protections. And if you won't provide masks, we will. If you won't provide hand sanitizer, we will. Now, I'm happy that those things are being provided now, and I give them all the credit in the world. But if we had lost one life during that time period, I don't believe we would have been able to continue to run this transit agency for at least several weeks.
Yeah. And you were close to losing a life.
We were close. We were close. At the end of the day, and I hope the people of this city understand, I am charged with protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the employees of this agency. And we will do whatever's necessary in order to get our agency to respond, at least to make sure we're in a safe workplace.
Let's go to Ann now. Hello, Ann.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I just would like to get his opinion on something that has happened here in Nashville in the last 24 hours. And yesterday we had parents that were doing a protest at our Board of Education, had their children standing side by side in the rain, demanding the right to go to brick and mortar schools. And today, Dixon has had to postpone a football game because their football players have tested positive for COVID-19. Now, we are not in school because it is not safe for our children to be in brick and mortar schools. And we have a person in charge of schools making the right decision to have online learning. You have taken the right steps and are providing the materials that adults are choosing not to use, basically masks and soap and water and hand sanitizer. You are making every person that gets on that bus safe for you, your employees, and any adult getting on that bus, because you cannot control what is getting on, spreading, and getting off your bus, nor can you control what is out there any more than I can, or the school superintendent, or any parent.
Right,
so what is your opinion as to the school board and what has happened today with the football players that have tested positive? Because if the football players are positive, then the students within that school have tested positive as well.
All right, Ann, thank you. I'll let you comment on her call. I mean, it's not about transit workers, but it's about this overall issue and its impact on our community.
You know, and I appreciate those comments. I can only relate back to myself and my household. My son has underlying health conditions. We had to make the choice to do virtual school with our child because we can't trust that other parents and sometimes other leaders would make the right decisions. If you want to go to school, at a brick and mortar school, open one, let all of them go, and the teachers who don't mind teaching in that brick and mortar school, and that's perfectly fine. But don't force your personal beliefs on me and my family when we have health conditions that cause us to be at a higher risk than there.
All right, let's go to Kelly here. Hello, Kelly.
Hello.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mr. Green. First of all, thank you for doing the open Q&A. But I do have a question. I am a frequent rider of legal services, and an operator said that later in the month, they're going to go to a front door policy where we can no longer board through the back door. And with what you're saying about the company kind of dragging their feet, if you will, about hand sanitizer, masks, and things like that, how do you think the number of drivers affected will change now that a lot of drivers that use the rear door will not be forced to use the front door?
Thank you so much. Sorry to jump in. You are correct. This company is set to go back to the front door policy in a couple weeks. We've received that notification. The most terrifying time for myself, and the company is aware of this, it's not when the most infections are taking place. It's when we begin to relax our standards. Because we believe now that it's safe. Once we start to do things like begin to go back to front door boarding, start to relax the policies, the safety measures that we've put in place, that is the time when we're at the greatest risk. And so we're going to address the company as it relates to the front door policy. Again, I will remind you, Ben, and your listeners, I'm charged with the responsibility of the health and welfare of the employees of this system, and I take that charge very seriously. So if it is necessary for us to maybe come up with a little bit different policy, then that's what we'll do. But we will not ask any employee to put themselves at risk when we know without a doubt, that we could get them sick.
So you're opposed to going back to the front door boarding, I guess, right? You would like to keep people board through the back.
That is correct. I would like to keep the rear door policy in effect.
All right, interesting. All right, Stanley, hold on the line. No, Stanley's on the line. We have to take a break. Then we'll come back, answer more questions, take a break, and be back right after this.